Hello everyone, how are you feeling today? It's Eros everyone here and I'm back at you with another deck profile. Today I'm giving you a new deck profile for this channel, which is Cubix. So it's the first time I did this deck profile for this channel, probably a weird that I only did it now, but the reason why I only did it now because only now I got my hands on Duja and Karma, which is like I missed one of Karma and two of Dujas, but you know, it just not hard cards to get. It just none of my friends had those, so I thought to myself like I will just order them and just get them, and here I am. I got them. But anyway, I hope you guys also appreciate the math in the spirit of the deck profile because it just, you know, the Dark Side of Dimension. If you don't know, this archetype came from the so-called, I would not consider him so much villain, as well as like, I'm not 1% sure what to consider the Agami or the guys that use this deck, but I'm not sure if you're really interested in the lore of the movie, so without further ado, let's get started with the deck profile. And just to state straightforward, this deck is OTK based. Just to let you guys know, if you don't know how Cubix works, Cubix are just OTK based deck. That's what they are, and that's what they always will be. So I actually made my build to be a little bit more focused around this, like getting this guy consistently, like not focused, but like have the ability to bring this guy more consistently, because this guy is freaking nuts, and bringing him onto the field is amazing. So without further ado, like I said, let's get started, and I'll explain you my card choices, and I hope you guys will appreciate. And if you have any other comments to just improve the deck, please let me know in the comments down below. So starting things off, we're going to start with a monster that is not a cubic monster, but it's super important for the archetype. You want to run 3 copies of Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk is a really important monster for this, and I don't understand people running like less than 3 or even not at all, because this guy is amazing for here, because it's let you ditch a spell which you already want to ditch some particular space that you open up with, and then special summon you a card directly from the deck which you want to see immediately, because it's your pretty much your most important playmaker, which is 3 copies of Duja. So you can ditch your spells and traps that you already spells that you already want in the graveyard because they're cubic spells, or just leftovers, Foolish Burial Goods, or any other spells that you just think like, why did I even open up with this? But anyway, next up, this is the most important card in the deck in my opinion, except for maybe the boss monster, and that is Duja. Duja has the ability, when he's summoned, to send a cubic card directly from the deck to the graveyard, which you can pretty much do more than a hard once. It's not a hard once per turn, so you can do it more than one time. And the card that you want to send is, there are 2 cards that you want to send to your graveyard, and that is Karma, which is a card that when you send to the graveyard, search for you a cubic monster, or Unification, which is a card when you send to the graveyard and then banish it. You pretty much both of them, when you banish them, you get a special summon a level 4 or lower cubic monster, which then if you send 2 Unification and then like special summon, you get 3 monsters to the board, as well as getting another search, which is really cool. And like I said, when this card is normal or special summon, so if you use like Monster Bone, Soul Charge, you're still going to get this effect. Of course, you can only get the search and special summoning only 6 total in a game, but like giving you the ability to just special summon 3 monsters is just kind of nuts. And this guy also have another effect. When a monster is sent to the graveyard getting an 200 attack, you can make him get 200 attack until the end phase of every single monster with different name. But it's not always come up. It's just nice to have if you want to go to OTK. It's depending on the situation, of course. Next up, you want to run 3 copies of Crimson Nova, the Cubic Lord. This guy is also super nuts because this guy is an OTK engine built into itself. This card can attack twice. At the end phase, it's burning you and your opponent for 3,000 points of damage, which is crazy because it can help you just finish your opponent if you already haven't finished him with the attacks. And then it's of course the harder once per turn effect, the burn damage, but you can special summon him multiple times per turn by revealing 3 cubic cards with different names from your hand and then special summon him. So if you have 3 of them, and then you also have 3 additional cubic cards, doesn't really matter. You can just special summon, special summon, special summon, and get 3 monsters that can attack twice. This card is amazing. It's probably a really, really good reason why this card is a boss monster. And a lot of people pretty much afraid when this card is hitting the field. So you know that an OTK is coming right up. Anyway, the next card is 3 copies of Vijim the Cubic Seed. To be honest, this card is a very, very defensive card and not really good, but it has some, Konami just decided to make this card, a main focus on some cards of the deck, so you kinda need it. I'm not sure how much you want to have this guy in your hand. You want to mostly have it in your deck and then send it to Karma to boost up your monster, which we'll get to that, but it's this guy is a card, but like I said, it's just a defensive card if you need to sit on and your opponent forces you go first. As well, just in general, like I said, it's probably one of the cards that this deck is mostly centered about, except from, of course, Duja and Cubic Lord, because the other monsters are pretty much depending on having Duja in your graveyard or something like that, which we'll get to it. So starting things off with the rest of the monsters, or should I say going on with the rest of the monster, we first have the attack-based engine, I would call it. So those 2 monsters have really, really nice effect. Both of them can attack twice. This one need to sacrifice 2 cubic monsters. This one need to sacrifice 3 cubic monsters. Of course, send them to the graveyard and you special summon them. It doesn't count as a tribute summon, so don't worry about your normal summon. This guy get 2,000, this guy get 3,000, can attack twice, both of them. If this guy's attack and destroy a monster, you get to special summon 3 seeds, send himself to the graveyard and search this. If this one specifically, if it dies by your opponent battle by card effect, it can just pretty much special summon 3 cubic monster from your graveyard and then also search for you or add from you from the graveyard a cubic card, which is really, really cool. So those 2 cards are the attack engine. I'm not using the last one, which is the ones that getting only 1,000 attack, because a 1,000 attacking monster that need to get over stuff is not really, really good. A 2,000 attacking one is actually pretty okay, because there are link monsters that are not so powerful, but a 1,000 attacking monster is not that good. And then the other one, which I consider the better engine out of the 2 for the 2, cubic versions of a lineup, which is the cubic burn damage, I would call them. Cubic burn. Those 3 guys have the effect when they're summoned. Of course, this one need to require 1, this one require 2, this one require 3. And each and every single one of them, when they're summoned, all of them burn you for 800 point of damage. This one get 800 when it's summoned, 1600 and 2400. This guy, all of them, the 2 of them, not him, they need to attack. And if they attacked, not need to destroy a monster by battle, not need to inflict bad damage to your opponent, they can send themselves to the graveyard and summon a number of Vijams, 1 more than there currently are. Sacrifice for. So let's just say you sacrificed like I said, you sacrifice 1 monster for him. You have 2 V-Gems in your graveyard, and he's attacked. You summon 2 V-Gems. This one summon 3, and then you search of course, the one in the ladder. And then Emperor have the same effect as Behemoth. When he dies, he pretty much, by your opponent battle by card effect, he pretty much search for you a cubic monster, and then special summon 3 cubic monsters from the graveyard. Not search a cubic monster, search a cubic card, or recycle a cubic card. So this 5 cubic monsters are really, really nice. Mostly they are here for the name, but they could come up, so, just having them here is not a problem. Especially those guys in the new time rules, if you don't have the ability to kill your opponent with your own burn damage anyway, it's just a nice way to help you either win in the time rules, or just in general, just give you the additional points of damage that you need in order to just burn your opponent to death. Especially this guy. This is the guys that are actually considering to running up in 2, and then just cut this guy completely, because it's not the most important one, but this one is actually really, really good. So, this one. So I'm actually considering maybe cutting this one completely and just running 2 of this, because this one is really, really good because of the new time rules, but we'll see. And that pretty much does it for the cubic monsters. And now we'll move on to the spells, which in my opinion, this is where this deck's a little bit of more shines. And you run 3 copies of Cubic Karma, which, like I said, it's a really, really important card. Sent to the graveyard, you get to search. And This guys also have another effect, like this card also have another effect, which is, like I said, when you activate it, you can target another cubic monster, like a cubic monster on the board, send V-Gems from your deck to the graveyard, and then give your monster 800 attack each, so it can become up to 2400 additional boost for the damage, which is crazy. Especially in the case of this guy, or even Duja. Duja become 4000, which is nuts, and with this effect to also getting 200 points of damage for each monster with a different name, it becomes 4200 if you wish to activate it. Also, this card effect continue to be in effect even if this card leave the field, so that is awesome. As well as this guy, if I believe if your opponent have the effect of like also a pretty irrelevant effect. If I believe if V-Gem Cubic Seed Special Summon by effect of a cubic monster, I think in your opponent's turn, you can pretty much have your opponent life points, which is pretty much an irrelevant effect, but it's nice to have, I guess. I mean, it's not the best, like I said, but it's nice to have. What's the worst that could happen? But mostly you want this card to be in your graveyard to pretty much search your cubic monsters. Because when you're in the graveyard, you can banish it, search a cubic monster, and it's not a hard once per turn, which is super crazy. Next up, we run 3 copies of Cubic Wave. Cubic Wave is one of your additional OTK enablers because he'll let you pretty much have a Dark Rebellion effect on one of your monsters, but instead of gaining the last attack of the monster, you pretty much double your Cubic Monster attack, and then you have that opponent monster. So it's pretty much a Dark Rebellion, but let's just say you have a Cubic Lord, it becomes 6000, let's just say your opponent is 2500, it becomes 1250, and you have a 6000 attacking monster that can attack twice and burn your opponent for damage for 3000 points of damage during the end phase. It's just nuts. And then also it's have another effect in the graveyard, which is giving your opponent cubic counters by banishing also cubic monsters, which is really good effect for V-Gem, I guess, which is the protective one, like, you know, the ones that you summon to then just continue the place in the ladder of the emperors or the beast or the kings. And it just, but, you know, it's just nice to have, I guess. If they will give us ever a new support that focus on that, it's just nice to have, I guess. And then for the rest of the spells, you run 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Probably the most important spell ever from Karma, because this guy just put Karma in the graveyard. It's really a shame that this card is a hard once per turn, but it's also, I get it, because any deck that could benefit from this for being more than a hard once per turn, it will be crazy, because this card can become like super explosive if it wasn't a hard once per turn. But 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, you want to have 3, even though it sometimes seems too much, because, like I said, you want to see Karma in the graveyard. In worst case scenario, if you open up 2 of these, you can discard for Summoner Monk or for another card, which we'll go over it right now. And the card that I'm talking about is 2 copies of Fusion Recycling Plant, which are running with 1 Terraforming and 1 Polymerization. This is the engine that pretty much helped me to make Trinity a little bit more easily, because I can search the cards that I need, like the Polymerization, as well just send from my hand to the graveyard the cards that I don't need in my hand, like leftover Foolish Burial Goods, or just being able to send Cubic Karmas, or Unifications, just being able to send those cards that sometimes I just see in my hand and not in my grave, and I just don't also see Summoner Monk. It's just a really nice additional way to just see those in the graveyard, search the cards that I need, and just continue my plays, which is, like I said, really cool. So this engine, if you want to cut it, you're more than welcome to, but I just think it's a little bit nice to have. You can cut this and just start putting Monster Reborns and or Twin Twisters, which I still play Twin Twister, but you can just play other cards like Monster Reborn, Scapegoats, or whatever, but I just don't find Scapegoat being super useful in an OTK deck, so, you know, it's just depending on you and whatever you want. And then for the one-offs, I run 1 copy of Fusion Conscription and 1 copy of Reoccurring Nightmare. Fusion Conscription, I probably would recommend to cut it down if you're playing a match during, like, not cut it down, but like switch it up depending on the game that you're playing. If your opponent you know that your opponent going to first, you go first. I would recommend to cut one of the other cards and just add like maybe 2 Fusion Conscriptions instead of having 2 Twin Twisters, because Fusion Conscription can get you set up for the next turn if you're surviving your opponent. If your opponent, of course, playing OTK. And then Reoccurring Nightmare, if I would recommend to play at 2 if you know that you're going second, because Fusion Conscription is nice, but it's like it's stopping your what do you call it? It's stopping your cubic lord, which is not something that you want to have. So, like I said, if you're going second, play 2 Reoccurring Nightmares. But if you're going first, playing free copies of Fusion Conscription, or just play 2 Reoccurring Nightmare and 2 Fusion Conscriptions instead of 2 Twin Twisters, which I run at 2 to, of course, back row and just send cards from my hand to the graveyard, to just pretty much, like I said, get the cards that you need for your next turn play to OTK your opponent if you're able to survive, of course, their turn, depending, of course, on the deck they're playing. And then lastly, for the spell, I'm running 3 copies of Cold by the Grave, because OTK deck and combo decks just benefit from this card so much. And that pretty much does it for the spells, and the only trap I run is 3 copies of Unification of the Cubic Lords. Its first effect is irrelevant. The only effect that you care about is the Graveyard effect, which you banish it and special summon a level 4 lower cubic monster. Simple as that. All you need to just set up your plays. And that does it for the main deck. Now we'll move on to the extra deck. So starting things off with the most important monster in the extra deck, in my opinion, and the one that you want to have if you're playing the Fusion Engine. 1 copy of Crimson Nova, Trinity the Dark Cubic Lord. Wow, this name is very, very long. Anyway, this guy is amazing. When he attacks, he pretty much cuts your opponent's life points. If you destroy a monster by battle, which is, you have 4,500, so the cases of that not happening unless your opponent having a protection is very, very slim. So he attacks, and then if you destroy a monster, you can attack another time, and then if you take damage, which could happen with your Crimson, which can happen with your Cubic Lord, you can pretty much give your opponent additional 3,000 points of damage because you took damage from Crimson Lord. Because if you take damage, your opponent taking the same damage afterwards. And then you also have built-in protection, which is not the most... It's nice, but like not so much come up, so it's okay. And then for the rest of the extra deck, I run 1 copy of number 81, Super whatever 81. You could run Gustav Max instead if you prefer, for the other for a rank 10, or just run both of them. I just specifically think 81 is a lot more important. Again, if my opponent forces me to go first and I have 2 Crimson Nova, to just pretty much have a monster with 3,200 attack that can just protect itself, or other cards that I have. Just, in my opinion, having one of these is just okay. If you want to have Gustav Max, or having Gustav Max and this, you're more than welcome to. But in my opinion, the burn damage of this deck is so high that you don't really care about that. Next up, Utopia package. Again, OTK deck, you can just take down your opponent. Baguska for stalls if your opponent forcing you to go first. Tornado Dragon to destroy your karma if you pretty much use it to boost another monster and then just pretty much get another search. Or just in general, like I said, if your opponent is forcing you to go first. Castell for removing an annoying card. Gagaga Samurai, which I would recommend to have instead number 27 if you wish, but Gagaga Samurai could be also a nice option if you don't have number 27. I specifically don't have it right now, but when I'll have it, I will probably put 27 instead. Topologic Transmania, again, spell and trap problems if you have them. Triple Burst for battle phase things. If you don't want Triple Burst, you're more than welcome to switch it out. I just found it to be really useful for piercing damage and just in general dealing with some annoying effects that you don't want to deal with. Akashic Magician, because you can just bounce a card. Phoenix, Cerberus, and Mermaid, because Phoenix and Cerberus are really good because of their Nightmare combo and whatever, just spells and traps and monsters. And Mermaid is in here just if my opponent give me the Ibli and I can do nothing about it. So pretty much that's it for the extra deck. Again, you don't really need to put so much thoughts into the extra deck because you almost never not going into it. There's some cards here that you're using more than others, of course, but like, the times that you actually go to the extra decks are not so big. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy anyway my cubic deck profiles. If you have any suggestions to like make the deck a lot more better or things that you want to tell me in the comments down below, you're more than welcome to. Hit the notification bell if you guys want to follow me immediately when I upload another video. It's more for you than it's for me. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy any things and leave a like again if you want to see if you enjoy the video as well. Remember guys, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day guys, stay safe, and hopefully pretty soon I will come back to more regular schedule, but we'll talk to that when we'll talk about that.